Peace, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Moorish Monday with Abdullah Il Talib Mosi Bey. We have a wonderful show for you this evening. Thank you for joining me. Uh, for those, before we get started, for those who are interested in getting my books, you can go to mooresandmasonry.org for Masonic Compass and Square and the connection to measurement and timekeeping, how our Venus and Moon rule, etymology and vocabulary. Etymology, vocabulary, something that you want. Moors and Masonry, Part 1. Moors and Masonry, Part 2. How her Venus and Moon rule. All right, so before Brother Elkanan will be joining us shortly. We're going to be looking at today the astronomy surrounding the Thanksgiving period. The astronomy surrounding the Thanksgiving period. So I'm definitely looking forward to today's presentation. Great. I want to always give Brother Hank, Uncle Hank, brother, a great his flowers, for offering this platform to me. It will have been a year and about I think 2 weeks since I started my first show on this Magnet Pyramids Crystal YouTube page. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Hit the like button and also the notification so that you can get the notification of all the shows. And there's a host of wonderful shows that you should check out. Also, the Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law, we have a host of free classes on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. Also on the page is the Moorish Investigative Research Committee lessons. There's 7 of them. Seven of them, such as the application of law, the conclusion, the finding of facts and conclusion of law. We have the lesson, two parts on drafting motions, pleadings, and handling legal cases. Those are among the 7. So check it out. So you'll see across the screen my website. Also, we just as I'm waiting for Brother Elkanan to come on. Brother Elkanan is a 33rd degree, 97th degree past Grandmaster, York Rights, and also the member of the King Solomon United Grand Lodge. So he should be joining us shortly. Is he backstage, Hank? He said he will be Sister Nadine's salutations. All peace, sister. Let people know that we're on. Let people know that we're on, everyone. So we definitely we have a wonderful show for you this evening. So we have the Thanksgiving coming up. What's been presented is that the holidays this is a misrepresentation, is that the holidays are what people say the white man holiday. The holidays are not European holidays or quote unquote white men or white people's holidays. The Europeans do not have a culture that they develop. They are culture bandits. I don't have a problem with Europeans practicing our culture. The issue that I have is that they have buried who we are, and that we actually have developed the culture, and so they're actually taking credit for it. So that's what I have a problem with, because you're talking about the culture, dealing with the astronomy, mathematics, navigation, calendar making. So I wait for Brother Al Kanan to come on. So check out, once again, there are classes on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, a host of wonderful classes, as well as lessons that's on this page, magnets, pyramids, crystals, YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Yes, let me go get him. Let me go call yes, because he's taking longer than what I thought. All right. You gonna come on, Hank?
Putting out a call to the warrior in you, to the healer in you, the king, the queen, the magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Welcome to Magnets, Crystals, and Pyramids. Success is your destiny. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Remember, always who you are. Yes. Yes. I am. Love, wisdom, power. Yes. Yes. I am. Love, yes. Power. Yes. I am. Yes, I am love, wisdom, power. Yes, yes, I am love, wisdom, power. Master. Yes, I am. Yes, love, wisdom, power. Yes, I am. Say yes, to yourself. Yes, I am protected. Yes, yes, I am. Master. I am. Yes.
All right. We're back.
All right.
Oh, I'm back. And we have with us for this is the third time on this platform. Third time, right?
Second.
Third
Second.
time. Third time. This is his third time. This is his third time. All right.
All right.
All right. This is his third time. He was on this platform for the first time leading up to the conference. Leading up to the conference,
Okay.
when I brought in keynote speakers and panelists leading up to the Moorish Political Unity Conference, May 18th conference. El Kanan was on here in May. In May with Sister Pacola, Brother Raheem, and Nakeem, and Brother Raymond Edwards, Grandmaster Raymond Edwards. That was his first time. So a month ago was his second time. And this is his third time. I just had to,
Indeed.
we recall his memory. All right, so brother, the floor is yours, brother. You've already been introduced. The topic's been introduced. So once again, we're going to be dealing with the Thanksgiving. Do you have to share your screen or what?
I want to share my screen, but I'm on
What's
my
going on?
phone right now.
All right, so
So
no, so you're on your phone. All right,
I'm not
so
going to be able to do it today.
all right, so once again, I give to you, brother El Kanan Bey.
All right. Greetings, family. I'm going to take a little different turn. Still going to go over the information, but I just won't have the video. I mean, not the video, but the visual. Visual. That's what I mean by that. The actual visual. So let me just get right to it. So during this particular time of the year in November, we take a look at the constellations and looking at the constellations for the period right around November 20, somewhere in the November 20s, mid to late. We look at Orion. We look at the star constellation. Again, this is all connected. When we talk about Masonry, looking at the culture, Moorish culture, we want to look at what is, what were our ancestors doing? What were they doing during the maybe 700s, 800s, 1200s, things of that nature. How were we dealing with our culture? Well, we used our culture, first of all, we used astronomy and we used particular astronomical tools or sciences in order for us to be able to do map making, calendar making, telling time, figuring out time measurements and things of that nature. So specifically now, what I wanted to talk about is just a little astronomy dealing with Orion. And specifically, I want to look at Orion's belt. All right, we'll go through all of the other stars. And apologize, guys, that I can't, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, I'm not able to get onto my, I'm not able to share this with my computer. Okay, so anyways, Orion is the alignment of, or Orion's belt. Let me be clear about that. Orion's belt is the alignment of 3 stars. Now, there are more stars in that constellation, but we look at 3 diagonal in a slant, meaning diagonals on a slant, these 3 stars. The 3 stars that we look at, Mintaka, Al-Nalam, and Al-Natak, they make up Orion's belt. They're the 3 stars that's on Orion's belt. So Orion is a, I guess we take a look at the mythical figure of Orion, and I guess we look at Greek mythology. We see Orion as a hunter, and Orion was hunting with his dog, and he was chasing a hare or a rabbit. Okay, so in the constellations, you will see, and I apologize that I don't have this up, but Orion is chasing and looking to kill this or capture this rabbit. All right, so we take a look at Orion's belt And again, those were the 3 stars that I actually mentioned. And the belt is in the on Orion. And what happens here is we're looking at Orion himself. Orion, when you look at the constellation, Orion is on his back. I'm trying to do something with my hand, but I got to find the camera. So Orion is on his back. This is a horizontal, and so he goes from a 180 degrees, and he makes it up to the turn goes 90 degrees. So it's a 90-degree turn, right? So that's on the angles, 90 degrees. So from flat level to a 90-degree level, if I can put my hand in front of the camera. But so what does that mean? And I'm going to be kind of going in and out between Masonry, and I'm going to be going, when I say Masonry, I'm looking at the number 3, first of all, because we have those 3 stars. So we'll look at that principle. And then we also look at Orion being down at its horizontal and raising up. So what happens here is you're in the lodge, we're being raised from a dead level to an upright perpendicular. So what happens here is we're turning up 90 degrees. We're turning down from a dead level and coming up. And what does that really mean? That mean, and we look in our rituals, we look at more light. We're looking for more light. What's happening is we consciously want to be arisen from ignorance to enlightenment. And ignorant doesn't mean that you're dumb. It just means that you're ignorant to whatever it is that you're trying to seek more light from, or more knowledge. The light refers to the knowledge. So when we look at the constellations and where the connection comes in at, first of all, because the culture is Moorish culture, and it's Masonry is part of that culture. All right, it's a major part of the culture. But let's look at the story of Orion's constellation. All right, so looking at the story of Orion's constellation, Orion is one of the most long known constellations, and the earliest depiction linked to it dates back some 38,000 years ago. Now, the pattern in the constellation is recognized by a human figure, that's Orion. Many ancient cultures all over the planet look at this story. In Greek mythology, again, what I was mentioning before, the constellation Orion is associated with a legendary hunter, a club, and then he has a shield. So there are many different versions of how Orion got turned into a constellation. But according to one of them, he was stung by a giant scorpion, by Gaia, the goddess of the earth, and she didn't like the way Orion boasted about being able to be killed, to kill animals in the world. So the goddess Artemis asked Zeus to place her fellow hunter in the sky, and he turned Orion into a constellation, as well as the giant scorpion. So those are 2 different figures, the scorpion and then Orion. So Orion, the constellations reflected in Sumerian mythology, specifically in the myth of Gilgamesh. Sumerians associated it with the story of the hero fighting the bull of heaven, represented by Taurus. Now, I'm telling this story because I'm trying to set up the constellations, right? So this Taurus was represented by the bull. I mean, the bull is represented by Taurus, and can also be connected to a story of the attack of Gilgamesh by the Scorpion men. The Arabs saw the constellation as a figure of a giant. Ancient Moors saw the figure of a man who had been shot by an arrow represented by the star of Orion's belt. Now, what is so special about Orion's constellation? Well, Orion is visible from everywhere on the Earth and is one of the most recognizable constellations. It holds the famous Orion's asterism, often used for locating other bright stars. Orion has 2 of the 10 brightest stars in the night sky and many deep sky targets, good for amateur and seasonal astronomers who are looking. All right. So Orion is a very popular constellation. Now, again, what does Orion look like? Now, we're not talking about just the belt now, but the most prominent star in the constellation, Orion, form an hourglass shaped star pattern. Now, there are several other stars that are a part of Orion. Regal and Safe mark the feet. Betelgeuse and Bellatrix mark the arms, and the stars of Orion's belt form the waist. So it's depicted as a hunter holding a bow with an arrow or a club. And the sword that's hanging down, and he's holding a shield in his hand. So how many stars are in Orion's constellation? There's about 21 stars that form Orion's outline. The 7 brightest mark his body and the renowned belt, the Orion's belt, and the rest mark his club and his shield. And again, I wish I had the pictures. Well, I do have the pictures, but I wish I could show them. What is the brightest star in Orion's constellation? Again, that is Regal. It's the most prominent star in the constellation of Orion, and it is the brightest star in the night sky and can be easily found with the naked eye. So that's good if you're trying to find, as an astronomer or even as a stargazer, if you're trying to find Orion, you at least you'll be able to see it. At least you'll be able to see the brightest star, because it is the brightest star and it can be seen with the naked eye. So when you're able to see, or when can you see the Orion constellation? The constellation Orion is best visible during the winter months in the northern hemisphere and summer months in the southern hemisphere. So from May to July is in the daytime sky, and therefore it is visible at most latitudes. All right. So let's talk about the Orion again, laying down on his back and moving up to 90 degrees. What happens here is, in ritualistic practice, the candidate at a certain degree in the lodge is being raised up by the lion's paw, the lion's grip, and he's raised up from a dead level to an upright perpendicular. All right. So he's raised up. We talk about perpendicular. Here's the math. We talk about perpendicular. Perpendicular lines form right angles or form 90 degrees. So it's like a cross. You have a straight line that's vertical, straight line that's vertical, and then you have the horizontal line, making that L shape. Let's do it this way. Making that L shape forms the 90 degrees. And what Orion did, what happened with him, is he was on his back, and then he rose. So let's see, get my camera So here's this. And then he rose. And there's that 90 degrees right there. So going from a horizontal, horizontal or straight line, linear, still linear. But what happens now is the constellation is moving upwards now this way. And what's happening is it's chasing this hare, right? And so his dog, and I wish I had, again, I know I keep saying that, his dog is there's a dog in the constellation, and we look at it, the Canis Minor and Canis Major, with a dog that Orion has as his dog is Canis Minor. Okay. And with these constellations lining up, he's the hunter. So he's hunting this hare, and he's hunting this rabbit. So the Masonic connection to it is rising up from a dead level to a upright perpendicular, and you're gaining knowledge, or you're being reborn. So that is that's the major part of this, is the rebirth. That's what the significance is. What Orion really talks about is a rebirth or a regeneration. All right. So yeah, it's the rebirth. It's a regeneration. So that's how we can look at it astrologically, and we can see that its importance is, being changed, which is the changing or the transformation. That's what's really happening. It's a transformation. Personally, it looks at transformation. And during this time, the energy is about transforming. All right. So I want to turn the attention right now, and looking at this in the sky. We look at the northeast corner and the southwest corner, and this is where we take a look at Orion's position in the constellations. All right. So from the northern hemisphere, northeast, centered, and the southern hemisphere, southwest. So when we look at Orion, we want to actually go ahead and go back to the lodge. Initially in the lodge, it used to be a canopy. So that canopy was dealing with all of the stars, moon, sun, things of that nature. So now when we get into the lodge and we take a look at this, two significant points, or two significant fixtures in the lodge, inanimate fixtures, are the two pillars, Jachin or Joachim and Boaz. So when we take a look at that, and then what's also important, I also want to mention this as well. We have those two pillars, but then we also have two individuals. We have the worshipful master, and we have the senior warden. Those two represent the equinoxes, and they represent also the sun as the worshipful master and the moon as the senior warden. So what happens here is you have you have a cross. You have a cross, and what that cross is, that cross represents seasons. All right, that cross represents seasons, but we have the 2 solstices and we have the 2 equinox. Now, when we take a look at the 2 pillars, here we're looking at the 2 solstices, and with these 2 solstices, we have summer solstice and we have the winter solstice. And we look at these 2 and the equinoxes in order for us to determine our seasons, or to look at our seasons as far as planting is concerned, looking at the agriculture that we actually need for our survival, and we need for measuring time and doing calculations that are dealing with the planting seasons. So what's the connection between the Masonic Lodge and Masonry and the as we call it, the starry firmament in the sky, or the constellations? What we take a look at here is we're looking at, there's a specific day that we actually deal with, and that day that is practiced and honored amongst all Masons, and that is St. John's Day. And when we take a look at St. John's Day, which is on June the 24th, all right, that is the recognition of the summer solstice. Because when we take a look at the summer solstice, it's when the sun reaches its highest point of ascension, which is actually on June the 21st. Okay. And it reaches its lowest point of declination on December the 21st. So the position of the sun in the summer is a season where the sun is at its highest point, giving sun rays and providing life and light. Everything in nature is thriving and is waiting for the sun. We need to be able to understand that the meaning of the word solstice is spelled S-O-L, and it's sun. Then we have stis, the root word sti, which means apparent stop. So it stands still. The sun will stand still for 3 days. And then it rises back to life, from darkness to light, or life that springs back. It's a rebirth. So again, we're talking about Orion, we're talking about the solstices, and I'm specifically talking about the solstices versus the equinox, because again, we're looking at a rebirth from Orion being on his back and rising up to perpendicular, rising is every 90 degrees when this constellation turns. So what happens is, when we're at the upright perpendicular at 90 degrees, that is a rebirth. Same way as the sun, because the sun itself, when it goes around, it starts falling, it starts losing. We're losing time as the sun starts going down. It's going down throughout the year. And then once it reaches December the 21st, what happens is it's at an apparent death, or we'll say it hides. All right. So it'll stand still from the north. It went from the northeast corner to the southwest corner of the hemisphere, in a tomb or waiting station, and it's hidden or dies for 3 days till it rises back from darkness, all right, to light. It's a rebirth. The sun then begins its journey to ascension, beginning on December the 25th. until it reaches its highest point of ascension on June 21st. All right. So, and I pause there because this is where we get the story of Christ dying, the Son, SON, rising from the death, being in a tomb, and then for 3 days, right? He has the 3 days that he is dead, and then there's a ascension. He rises, of course. I'm not going to get into the story or whatever the case it is, but it's dealing with the tomb, and he rises from the tomb. But we're looking at the SUN as the SUN starts to rise after the 3 days, the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. He starts making his rise until it reaches its highest point, beginning on the 25th of December, and then rising up until it gets to its highest point of ascension, which is June 21st. Now, again, I'm making the tie with Orion, and I'm looking at its connection in the lodge with the sun, and the sun's ascension and declination. All right. Now, the true meaning of why us as brothers stand in or as Masons stand in the northeast of the lodge, or beginning the journey of our instruction. We start in the northeast corner. All right. And so we also we follow that because that's part of the culture as far as the constellations are concerned. So we're following. We get a lot of our ritual from the stars and the moon and what's happening in the constellations. All right. So while we're doing this, and in this particular ritual, we talk about the sun and its revolution, not leaving Orion. I'm coming back to Orion in a minute, but I wanted to make that connection of Orion in the 90 degrees, moving up and from a death to coming back to life again, and how that revolves around the sun, how that deals with how it deals with the sun, because we're talking about a rebirth. So it's a rebirth in the lodge. It's a rebirth with the sun. So that's where the connection comes in at. All right. So again, why do we stand in the northeast corner? Why do we stand between these two parallel lines and a circle or a point within a circle with two parallel lines? We stand between the two pillars, Joshin and Boaz, and they're identified as sun and the moon, or we look at the summer solstice and the winter solstice. And what the meaning is, or the concept of Joshin and Boaz, is the representation of the astronomical markers of winter and summer solstice. Yearly recognition where the winter and the summer solstice is observed by thousands of Europeans at Stonehenge, which is visited annually on December the 21st. Now, this is important because it's an astronomical site that marks the winter solstice. So we talk about Stonehenge, it's prehistoric stone circle monument cemetery and archaeological site located in Salisbury Plain, about 8 miles or 13 kilometers north of Salisbury, Wiltshire, England. What is the point in the sun? What is the look at the point of the sun? It's an astronomical symbol of the sun is a shield with a circle inside. All right. Say it again. The astronomical symbol for the sun is a shield with a circle inside. Again, I'm relating that. I'm going back because I'm trying to give a little more information. I went into the solstices because I'm looking at how it is a rebirth of the sun, how we look at the northeast and the southwest corners in the northern and southern hemisphere, as well as in the lodge. This is how rituals are done or instructions are given And we talk about the two pillars, and we look at the point in the middle when you're standing in between the two pillars, the two solstices. We look at the revolution of the actual sun moving around in a circle. All right. So what is the point with the circle? It's an astronomical symbol for the sun, is a shield with a circle inside. Some believe the inner circle or boss represents a central sunspot. This symbol for Mercury represents the head and wing cap of Mercury, the god of commerce and communication, surmounting his caduceus staff. All right. The circle is the earth revolving around the sun, casting its shadow off the stones, pillars to mark the seasons. Again, I talked about Stonehenge, and I talked about the stones. Like, think of you could look at it as blocks, cement, stone blocks, or you can look at it as what do you call these? Stones, headstones that are in a circular motion, that are 12, that are in a circular motion, like a clock. They're in a circle. All right. So the circle is the earth, again, revolving around the sun, casting the shadow off the stones, pillars. So it marks the seasons, as it's going around in a circle. And I'm trying to move my hand around, but the thing is, it's I'm not being successful with it too much. But anyways, when we take a look at this again in the lodge, we look at the journey of the EA in his period of season cycle, which he's in this stage. This is an initiative who is now going through this circular motion, right? In the ritual. And what happens is he reaches, he comes in at a dead level, and then his thing is to reach the level of a upright perpendicular or a living perpendicular. All right. So with this, it's the newly initiated brother that begins in darkness seeking more light, and he begins his path or journey to seek more light. Standing in the northeast corner of the lodge to receive his instructions is separate from the ritualistic part of the ceremony, just as the sun reaches its lowest point of declination on December the 21st and is hidden apparent death. It appears to die, then is risen after 3 days. This is just like in our symbolic lodge, which the EA, Into the Apprentice, is going through his journey. And it is a 3-step process, meaning that there are 3 levels or 3 stages of his transformation or his learning. Now, the sun, which is apparent darkness, now begins its journey in the southwest, rising, providing more light to us in the world. We mimic the same process, and we do this in the lodge. Again, we're no longer in darkness. Now we're starting to receive light, just like with the sun. The sun is providing more light, right? So I mentioned the winter solstice, the summer solstice, Jay Shin and Boaz, those two. Then I also talked about the 2 equinoxes. One is the vernal equinox of spring, and that's March 21st. And then I look at the autumnal or the fall equinox, which is September, not the 21st or 22nd, around there. Now, what happens, which is interesting here, again, with the sun, with the mostly the sun, but we look at when we look at the solstices, okay, dealing with the sun, and then we're dealing with the equinox. What happens here is we form this cross, and in this cross, there's 4 points or 4 gates, and we look at that, how we're able to translate that into in culture, and Moorish culture is 4 seasons. So the seasons, when we take a look at the actual seasons, those seasons allow us to be able to determine when we're going to plant, you know, marking time. I mean, it's not just planting, but it's marking time and things of that nature. So I'm gonna now reeling back into Orion. When we look at some of the facts about Orion, all right. So it's abbreviated, you know, it's ROION. It's Orion, but we can abbreviate that is ORI. We look at the size of Orion is 594 square degrees. The right ascension is about 5 hours, and we look at the declination. Its lowest point is 5 degrees. It's visible 85 degrees north to 75 degrees south. Its brightest star is I'm hoping sure I'm pronouncing this right, is Regal. And the main stars that make up this constellation, there are 21. All right. Now it borders Gemini and Taurus. All right. And I can also say, as far as constellations, Eridanus and Lepus and Monoceros. Those are the 5 constellations that it actually borders. Okay. So looking at Orion, you have the what's called the Flame Nebula and the Horsehead Nebula, and then there's also Orion's Nebula. All right, and that's important when you're stargazing or you're taking a look at the different stars that are in the sky, and you're looking at the constellations, so that you just know exactly what the directions are when you're trying to see Orion. All right, so let us take a look at some of the. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. Give me a second. All right. Mm.
All right, y'all. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, let your friends and co-workers, kinfolks know that we're on. This is a very stimulating lesson. I'm enjoying it myself. And as you see,
All right.
it's been false screen at my website. All right, you got the floor, brother.
All right, so stars are constantly moving across the celestial dome, our sky, right? Our starry sky, lit sky, right? So to find Orion's belt, to actually find Orion's belt or to be able to follow Orion's belt. Oh, my screen. So what's going on, guys? I am reading some of this information. Some of it I'm going from memory, but what happens is I got fat fingers, if that can be believed, and I am moving my hands down the screen. And let's see. All right, good. I got to remove my hand off real quick, otherwise the screen is going to start jumping or whatever the case is. So, taking a look here. Yep. All right. So taking a look here, we have the constellation Orion takes up 594 square feet, a square degrees of the sky, and is the 26th largest of the 88 official recognized constellations. Now, it is placed between the constellations Monoceros and Taurus. All right. Now, the constellation belongs to the Orion family. You know, Orion belongs to the Orion family, obviously, because that's Orion, which also includes, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking about the dog. He's out, he's a hunter. So it's the Canis Major and the Canis Minor, right? But we have Lepus and Monoceros. So those four, they represent a hunting scene. That's important. And again, I had illustrations for this. So I'm a little thrown off a little bit because I don't have everything that I want. But the next time that I'm here, I am going to quickly show that, because there's thousands of people that are going to be viewing this, more than thousands of people that's going to be viewing this. And I want to be able to put, this is like a video script, a TV show or a movie, and the sound is off, or the sound is on, but the pitch is off, or whatever the case it is. But what I want to do is try and see if I can give you as best of a visual as possible. So the constellation, again, that's belonging to the Orion's family, which again, like I said, includes the Canis Major, the Canis Minor, Lepus, and Monoceros. And what happens is they represent a hunting scene. So Orion has his dog. He's out and he's chasing down the hare, while there's a unicorn that's prancing across. So I'm saying all of this because this is a story in the sky. There's a story written in the sky that what I'm actually talking about, you will see Orion, you will see his arrow, his bow, rather, an arrow. You will see his dog, Canis Minor and Canis Major. And what's happening is he's hunting in the sky. So this, all of this is taking place in the sky. And then you have this unicorn that's prancing across the sky, or whatever the case. All of this is in the sky. So I'm saying this, but this is what the constellation is looking like. This is what's happening. This is a depiction of it, and I'm trying to give you a visual, right? So where is Orion's constellation in the sky? Orion is located in the celestial equator and is visible throughout the world. Observed from the northern hemisphere, can see it in the southern sky, and in the southern hemisphere, Orion can be found in the northern sky. All right, so it's just looking at the opposite, right, in the opposite direction. All right, it has a prominent feature that can be seen from anywhere in the world. Of course, we're talking about Orion's belt. All right. Again, it says 3-star line marking of the waist on Orion. So once you spot it, you can easily find the rest of the stars from the figure of Orion himself. And again, I have anyways. So when you're looking in the belt, right above the belt, you see these 2 feet. Well, you don't necessarily see feet, they're stars. You see the Scythe or the Safe star, which is located right below the lower part of the slant of Orion's belt. And then you see Regal or Regio, and that is the brightest star, right? It's the brightest star in that constellation. It's the brightest star, and it's the foot of Orion. It's like his front foot, and Scythe is the back foot. And like an archer, you see an archer when they're pulling back, they got 1 foot forward and the other foot back. So the front foot, and I'm giving you a visual. Obviously, you can look this up on your own, but that wasn't the case. I didn't want that to actually be. But there's another one, and I wanted to mention that when I say another one, there's another star. So we said Regio is the brightest star on in the constellation, but the second brightest star is actually called Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse. It's
Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse is the it's like the shoulder on Orion. So Bellatrix and Betelgeuse are the shoulders. So again, we have this belt, right? That's Orion's belt that we know everything, we know a lot about. And then we have Betelgeuse and we have Bellatrix as the shoulders. So that would be above the belt. They would go directly above the belt, right? And it's kind of a pentagon. So if you look at Orion's belt, pentagon is 5-pointed, right? So it's a pentagon, and at the top of that pentagon, you have on one side you have Betelgeuse, and on the other side you have Bellatrix, right? And then there's another star forming. It's kind of like a 45-degree angle, but it's the 2 shoulders, and then you have like a head. And it's, I wish again I was able to show this to you guys, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. I wouldn't be going into so much explanation, but then it also looks better. Mesa, which marks the head, MEISSA. Mesa is the head. So I mentioned the 2 shoulders. Bellatrix. Here we go. So you have Bellatrix, and you have what is it, Betelgeuse? You have those 2, and then those are the shoulders, and then you have Mesa, which is the head. So just to kind of give you a picture of it in a way, trying to get my camera straight. So you have Mesa that's up here, that's forming this here, and then you have your 2 shoulders. All right, Betelgeuse and Bellatrix, which is a shoulder here and a shoulder here. I know that's not my shoulder, but I'm just trying to do it so I'm in frame. So what happens here now is you have that angle. You have this particular angle, and it forms an equilateral triangle, or almost an equilateral triangle, because the equilateral triangle, all sides are the same and all angles are the same. And technically, it's 60 degrees for each angle. 60 times 3 is 180, and that's where your equilateral triangle comes from, because the angle is 180 degrees. So that is what it looks like. Of course, there's other there's a lot of math that's caught up in this particular explanation, but we're not going to get into that right now. There will be a time where I just deal strictly with math. So it won't be, it'll just be one point when I'm just dealing specifically with that, with math. So let us look at all right. So I was going to talk about where Orion is tonight, but it's hard to really, you need some very advanced software to actually go into seeing, well, today you do. Then we just use mathematics in order to be able to see, and of course, telescopes in order for us to be able to see, where the alignment of things were, because again, we're looking at that so that we can actually find out when to plant and when to harvest, basically when to eat. Today we just go in the grocery store and we just pick up something and we eat, but it wasn't so hundreds and thousands of years ago. So the Orion constellation story is something that is very well known, and it's something that is it's popular. It's pretty I'd say it's pretty famous, so I'm going to be going back and forth again to talk about wait a minute, hold on. Talk about the connections that are happening in the lodge. All right. So one of the things that I want to actually do, and I wanted to see about looking at what happens in the sky during this time. Realistically, I just explained that. I explained the alignment of Orion, looking at Orion and Orion's belt and the particular stars that are in the actual belt, and those three particular stars that are in the actual belt, and then what's happening to Orion as he's being lifted up, or not. He's not being lifted up. It's the constellation that's moving to bring him from a dead level to upright perpendicular. But now let's put a little more, and I'll talk more about this later in the months to come. But let's just talk specifically about, since we talked about three, we said that there were the three stars on Orion's belt. Well, let's look at the three. Let's look at three. And when I look at three, I'm looking at, in this particular case right now, I'm looking at three star constellations. And if you're thinking of three specific things that I'm going to take a look at, it's going to be 3, 5, and 7. Okay, because I still want to always make the connection. The reason why you're seeing Abdullah with his fez, Moorish fez, and you see mine, which is a Moorish fez, but has had adaptation and it's been changed. In some instances, you could say it's been, well, let's say change. I'll use that for right now, to fit the Masonic fraternity. And what's happening here is we look at 3, 5, 7, but what we're looking at is we can take a look at 3-star constellations. All right. Orion, Taurus, and Pleiades. And like I said, I'll get into Taurus and Pleiades later at a later time. And the winding staircase, the 3, 5, and 7. So what happens with the Orion's belt, the 3 pole star alignment with the major pyramids of Giza? Those 3 pyramids of Giza, and we take a look at, they're lined up with the 3 stars on Orion's belt. Okay. And then when we take a look at the star group constellation of Taurus, that's a group of 5 stars. Okay. So Orion is a group of 3 stars. When we're talking about it's the belt, and we look at Taurus, we're looking at a group of 5 stars. Okay. And then finally, that's 3 and 5, we look at Pleiades. And Pleiades is one group, just like the rest, but it's a group of 7 stars. All right. Some other things that we can actually make connections with as far as the 3 is concerned is we have the 3 buildings, the Kennedy building, the obelisk, the Tekken, and the Capitol building. All right. And we look at 3 pillars, the 3 buildings, and the tracing board is called the Great Celestial Conjunction. All right. So we take a look at the connections between the constellations and the lodge. All right. So the other connections that we can actually make here, or more information that we can actually take in, and I'm looking at my I'm looking at the constellation, or the constellations that's close to Orion. And give me a second here. All right. So this would be also great if I had my pictures up, but it's all right. All right. So when we take a look at the solstices, going back to solstices again, we want to calculate, or we can calculate the summer solstice is looking at the highest sun angle in the area. You know, to look at it from your vision, you look at a figure 8. You're looking at it like a figure 8, and it follows. You look at 90 degrees, because remember, we have the 90 degrees going from the Orion's, from Orion, rising up to 90 degrees, and add that to 23.5 degrees, which is the Earth's axis. It's on an axis. So when you add that, you can add that 23.5 degrees, and you add that to 90, and that will give you a close approximation of the summer solstice. When we look at the winter solstice, the formula for the sun's altitude at noon, obviously, is at its zenith, the highest point. It's 90 degrees, you know, from the alignment of the Earth. And you look at that, 90 degrees minus the 51.5 degrees, and add that to the Earth's wobble, which is 23.5. Remember, 90 degrees minus the 51.5 degrees plus the Earth's wobble, and you get 62 degrees above the horizon on the summer solstice. Now, when it's winter solstice, it changes. So what happens now is you have the angle. All right. We're looking at the angle now. We're just, all this is about the angle. That's why I said degrees. So the angle is equal to 90 degrees minus the 51.5 degrees minus 23.5 degrees, which then gives us 15 degrees. We're looking at the angles now. So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to make the connection between the lodges. I wanted to talk about the astronomy of Orion's belt, and I wanted to talk about I wanted to talk about the math, and then I also wanted to talk about something etymological, all right, which I did when I said the solstice. We talked about the actual solstice. So the winter solstice is the shortest day and the longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And again, it occurs when the sun is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn, which is located at 23.5 degrees south of the equator and runs through Australia, Chile, southern Brazil, and northern South Africa. All right. Now, I mentioned the equinox or the equinoxes, and I didn't say a whole lot about them because it wasn't the time for the equinox. But looking at the way our ancestors would have done this by, I guess by today's terms, would be like is primitive. But let's look at the primitive way, or let me talk about the primitive way. Using or being at a south window, you mark the path of the spot of a sunlight on the floor as the sun comes into the floor each day for about 2 hours, beginning about an hour before noon. So let's say 11 o'clock. So you look at the curvature of the paths. You know, you can use a yardstick or a meter stick or something that's long. The day on which the path is closest to a straight line is the day of the equinox. I'm talking about the application right now. This is the application of it. So I always, as a math teacher, and a science teacher, I always like to talk about what is the application, because a lot of times you can sit back and you can read something and you're like, well, I have no idea what I just read. So here is some application of what it is that is actually happening. All right. And like I said, I promise the next time I'm before you, which will be next month, I'm going to divert a little bit of time, maybe 15 or 20 minutes to because this is being recorded. I want to make sure that this is being seen. I'm saying a lot, but I want you to be able to see it. I want everyone who's listening to actually be able to see it. So, how we talked about the equinox, how the equinoxes were measured, right? Talked about the summer and the fall. But now let's take a look at how is the solstice measured. Again, now this is the application. Now we got the theory and all of the other information out of the way. Let's talk about the actual applications. So the astronomical almanacs define the solstice as the moment when the sun passes through the solstitial calor. Now, the times when the apparent geocentric celestial longitude of the sun is equal to 90 degrees. All right. So that's just when the sun reaches 90 degrees. The other thing is what we take a look at is during June. All right. That is when the sun is equal to 90 degrees, or its position at its zenith. But now when we take a look at the winter solstice, it's when the sun is at 270 degrees. All right. So when we start looking at what we call sun calculations, The noon sun angle could be calculated using the formula, the noon sun, which is 90 degrees, minus L, which is the latitude, plus D, which is the declination. Now here, the latitudes, locations, latitude is positive for locations in the northern hemisphere, all right, which makes sense. And then when we go below, the southern hemisphere is negative for the locations in the southern hemisphere, and the declination is the tilt of the Earth on its axis. All right. So that's how you would find the sun angle calculations. So again, like I said, we're doing a little bit of math right here. You know, we're looking at that. So a question that I think was asked to me one time was, is the Earth closer to the sun in the summer or the winter? Well, during part of the year, the Earth is closer to the sun than at other times. However, in the northern hemisphere, we're having winter when the Earth is closest to the sun, and we're having summer when Earth is farthest away from the sun. Okay, so that is the answer for that. And again, we're looking at the measurements or calculations for the equinoxes and the solstices. So let me see. Right now, right now, that is I think that's all that I'm going to give right now for as far as dealing with Orion. And the rest of my conversation, is going to hinge on the solstices. Again, the reason why I make the connection between the solstice is because it ties into the Lodge. It talks about the rebirth. Orion talks about rebirth, going from a dead level or horizontal to vertical. I talk about I won't say necessarily the equinoxes, but I talk about the Lodge in the sense that we're at a dead level and we're risen up to an upright perpendicular, and that is at the master level. And the connection with the solstice, as far as the sun is concerned, the sun is rising from from its declination as it's going down to its lowest point to the 21st of December, and then it starts to rise back up again. So again, I'm going to end off here. I'm going to end off here with some math calculations. But what I'm going to do for the math calculations, right, is I'm going to deal with, because I talked about the sun revolving around. We talk about the point, the Jai-Shin and Boaz, or Boaz and Jai-Shin. We look at the summer solstice and the winter solstice. What's actually going on here is we have the two parallel lines with the circle, and then the point in the middle with the two pillars being on either side. So what we're looking at here, we're looking at a circle, right? And I'm going to go into any other shapes beside the circle right now. But when we take a look at a circle, the circle has when we're looking at the calculations, we're looking at the calculations of the revolution around the revolutions around the Earth. And what's actually happening is when we look at the circle, we're looking at both the circumference and we're looking at the area. And just to look at the actual names or the formulas, we look at the circle as being the circumference of the circle as being 2 pi r. All right. And then we look at the area of that circle, we're looking at area is equal to pi r squared. Now, when we start looking at, and those are the basic, when we look at the actual basic formulas for a circle, and we look at the basic formulas for, I don't want to say the square, but we look at the basic formulas for a circle. That's the area and the circumference, which is like a perimeter if we're looking at edge shapes. But this is not an edge shape, it's a round shape. And we're looking at its, we look at its radius, or we look at the diameter. Finding the radius is going to allow us to not only accomplish finding the circumference, but it's also going to help us to find the area as well. So again, the circumference 2 pi r, we need the radius there. Pi being the 3.14, we multiply that times 2, and then we take a look at the area, which is pi r squared. We're squaring the radius now, and then we're multiplying that by pi. So that's what we actually take a look at when we are finding the circumference or the area of the rotation of the sun going around in this circle. And then we want to take a look at the center. All right. So I'll say the center of the circle. And again, that's just if we're trying to find out, how to get these particular measurements. But what our ancestors did is use some very, I guess in our terms would be primitive means of finding what these measurements were. But the example that I use dealing with the string and using a measurement stick, a yardstick, something of that nature, in order to be able to find the length of the diameter or the radius, that technology is not obviously used anymore, but that is what we did in the ancient days. So, like I said, I've already talked about Orion. And what I said, though, how is this information applicable today about looking up to the stars? First of all, to know this is your culture. It's Moorish culture, so hold on to that. But the other piece of it is, what does it actually mean, and how does it relate as far as the lodge is concerned? In the lodge, it is a resurrection. Okay. As far as looking at Orion and Orion rising up 90 degrees, again, that's vertical, that's upright, that's straight. That's the same thing as far as for us during this time in November. I don't want to say all November, but I'll say from the middle of November to the end of November. This is about resurrection. This is about rebirth. This is about change. So if you're looking at change, this would be a great time to change and to discover, something new. If you want to learn something new, if you want to have new relationships, if you want to have something that is new beginnings, a new job, different things that are going on that talk about newness, right? So again, what I do want to talk about as well, what I do want to talk about as well is there was something that I was looking at, and I wanted to share that today, but I don't know. I don't know exactly where that is right now. All right. So I'm going to close with this, and I'm going to look at the significance of the galactic cross. And this is rare and powerful astrological transit that occurs when the sun aligns within the center point of the Milky Way galaxy. Before I was talking about the two pillars and the sun, the parallel lines and the circle and the with the point in the middle. Well, this right here, it relates. It relates very much to that because again, looking at this galactic cross, this is an alignment within the center of the Milky Way galaxy. This alignment appears every 26,000 years at the vernal point. Okay, remember I talked about the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox, or the spring equinox in the fall. This is dealing with spring. It's marking the beginning of a new astrological age. Now, how this ties in again is because when we're talking about newness, we're talking about Orion, we're talking about rebirth. Okay, so in this one here, this is marking the beginning of a new astrological age. The galactic cross is considered a significant event for both individual and humanity as a whole. And it ushers in a period of profound transformation and growth. Again, transformation, we look at growth, we look at rebirth. Again, we're talking about, this is Orion, the story of Orion, the raising up in the lodge from a dead level to an upright perpendicular. So the galactic cross is considered a significant event for both individuals and humanity as a whole, as it ushers in a period of profound transformation and growth. It, in astrological terms, the galactic cross refers to the intersection of two axes. Okay. Again, dealing with our math here, you have the x-axis, which is horizontal, right? And then you have the y-axis, which is vertical, right? So again, the galactic cross refers to the intersection of these two axes. So the galactic plane and the elliptic, right? So the galactic plane is the plane of our Milky Way. The elliptic is the plane of the Earth's orbit around the sun when the sun is actually in alignment, or when the sun actually is in alignment. So without getting off into something else, like a lot of these things are related, but I don't want to get off into something else. So I'm going to end right there. I thank the viewing audience. That's it. So the one thing to keep in mind from this, how to apply this, because I know there was a lot of information, but how to apply this is a time of rebirth. This is a time of change. So change of direction. As you see the hunter Orion, he changed his direction. He was down and then he came up, right? So it was horizontal, and then he came up. So to upright living form, or upright perpendicular, receiving more light, more knowledge. So this is it, guys. I appreciate the listening audience, and Abdullah, take it away.
Man, this was fantastic, brother. How you made that correlation in with the lodge, between the lodge and the astronomy. Excellent presentation, brother. Excellent. You
All
know,
right, thank you.
so he'll be back on the last Monday every month, but this it's been scheduled for the his next scheduled time is the last Monday of December. I don't know the exact date. The last Monday of December, and he'll be on once a month. I'm definitely looking forward to this journey. We've known each other for about 7 years. So we have had a long journey together, and it's just great to see the brother is flourishing. It's flourishing. All right, so don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like this video as well as the other ones, and share it. All right, my website's been scrolling across the screen for the past hour and a half. That's mooresandmasonry.org. All right, so check me out. We have the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page for our classes. All right, see you next Monday. Peace, everyone.
All right, peace.